The one thing no one ever tells you about an interstellar war is how slowly it starts. In the beginning, it's something small. Maybe a law was passed that no one thought twice about. Maybe some politicians start getting a little overzealous in their pursuit of power. But eventually, those small things become sparks. Just one spark may not be enough to start a war, but eventually it happens. The first spark could be protests in opposition to new laws. The second could be riots in major cities. The third could be the government using its military as a police force. And the last one might be the assassination of a beloved civil servant. There. That's the spark needed to start a war. The one that sets everyone and everything on fire. Maybe I'm moving a little too fast. Let me start from the beginning.
All right, everyone, we're 3 minutes out. Get prepped.
Yes, Mom.
You guys know I hate it when you call me that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly why we do it.
You don't think it's weird calling me that when we all grew up together?
It's a term of endearment, sis. I'll get used to it.
I don't think I will anytime soon. Where did that even come from anyway?
It's because you always baby us before us. I'm always hearing void, double check your mags, void, triple check your cards. We've been doing this just as long as you have.
Yeah, half the time I feel like you're gonna tie our shoes for us.
That's because you actually do need yours tied for you, Kepler.
Shut up, Sable.
This was my team. My family, really. I can't tell you what unit we were with because it doesn't officially exist. And I don't mean that in the cliché action movie sense. All I can really tell you is that we're often referred to as ghosts, and that our unit was founded back in the early 21st century by an operator most only know as Ghost 1-6 Reaper, my many times great-grandfather. That's also where my call sign came from, Ghost 1-6 Wolf, but that's a story for another time. It was November 25th, 2277. We were deployed on Rialza at the time. Lately, things in the International Space Exploration Program, or ISEP for short, had been getting shady, to say the least. Rumors of a military restructure were running rampant, and politicians were enacting laws and sanctions at the Kaleidoscope star cluster that most people weren't on board with. Our unit quietly faded from out of ISEP's reach so that we didn't end up on the wrong side of things. We maintained our network of political and military contacts and picked up a few new ones along the way. One such contact wished to remain anonymous. We called him Raven. At first, we were hesitant to establish a relationship with them, but their intel was good, and after previous generation ghosts started turning up dead over the last few weeks, most likely due to their level of influence, we take whatever intel we could get. This time, our contact told us that Ghost 2-6 Torch, a previous generation ghost, had been captured and was currently being interrogated for information on the other ghosts before he was to be executed.
So I don't want to be the one to have to ask this, but what happens if we can't find them?
It's your father. You can't think like that. None of us can.
Yeah, and no one here wants to bring him back more than me. We've got to be realistic about this. If he dies, that only leaves 2 ghosts left from the last generation. And we can't exactly keep them locked down and surveilled 24/7. It's just not feasible.
See, you're right, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. If we come to it. Either way, right now we have to focus on finding Torch first.
Our transport touched down, and we immediately got out to set security. I looked around, scanning the area for contacts. Nothing. We offset from our target by about 800 meters so as not to draw too much attention to ourselves as we made our approach. Luckily for us, industrial districts such as this one had all kinds of traffic coming in and out of them even during those late night hours. As we moved towards our target area, we stayed in the shadows and covered each other as we moved. I could see where the team was scanning through the HUD in our helmets and was able to keep track of them even if I couldn't actually see them. I told Saint to take an overwatch position while the rest of us continued on. At this point, it was almost too quiet. We hadn't seen any workers or civilians, and no ships had come in to make any late-night deliveries. I started to feel uneasy. As we arrived at our destination, I checked our TAC map and saw that Torch's transponder was still on. That meant he was still alive, at least for now. We stacked up on the door to an old warehouse and began to make entry.
Clear left.
Clear right.
All clear.
Talk to me. What do you guys see?
There's nothing here. It's just a nondescript warehouse.
As I looked around, I saw things that would be in just about every normal warehouse. Crates, forklifts, ladders, and things like that. I checked the TAC map one more time just to be sure. Sure enough, the transponder was still active.
Is there something we're missing here? The transponder still has a very strong signal, and it's not likely to be working if it was outside of his body, so what the hell?
He should be right in front of us, correct?
Yeah, he should be. I don't know what's going on.
Out of sheer curiosity, I walked up to the crate that was exactly where Torch should have been standing. I unsheathed my tomahawk and opened it. My heart sank. Sitting at the top was a small chip with a blinking light. Torch's transponder. When one becomes a ghost, they have to have a transponder embedded somewhere in their body. It allows for easy tracking, just in case anything ever goes wrong. But if it ever gets removed, or if a ghost dies, it's not supposed to work.
What the hell?
Saint, we have the transponder, but there's a problem.
What is it?
It's been removed, but it's still active for some reason. No sign of Torch anywhere.
Have you seen any movement from where you are? Saint, respond. Ghost 4-6, come in.
His comm was dead, and there was no response. The rest of the team got switched on, and I can tell they were getting anxious. A few seconds later, his transponder went offline, and Saint's vitals disappeared from our HUDs.
What the hell is going on? Wolf, we have to move now!
Suddenly, all the lights in the warehouse went out, and we were under heavy suppressive fire. Our helmets automatically switched to night vision, so we weren't entirely blindsided by the amphitheater.
Sable and Void are down hard. We need to get the hell out of here now!
Roger that! Move to the rear exit! Go!
Covering, move!
As we moved out of the back door, my mind couldn't help but begin to wonder why we were in that mess. The most logical conclusion that I'd come to was that our anonymous contact burned us, They'd likely gave us good intel in order to get on our good side. And then, when we weren't expecting it, that's when they'd screw us over. But why remained the primary question. A question that would have to wait.
We got contact up high, adjacent warehouse to the left.
I see them! They're gone! Move up!
Moving! Set! We need to move to our primary extraction point and get off the streets!
It's only about 350 meters to the east, but it seems we got a lot of bad guys between us and the extract. Who the fuck are these guys anyway?
No idea, but we need to move. Speed is security right now. Let's go!
As we moved through the streets, we covered each other and communicated as effectively as anyone ever could in a gunfight. I tried to raise the pilot that dropped us off, and had no luck. They were jamming our comms, and we didn't have the time to break the encryption. That just meant that we had to get back to one of our safe houses on our own.
100 meters left!
Copy that! Contact up high! Incoming! Get down!
Even though our helmets dampened noise, my ears were still ringing. I looked around, dazed but alert. I saw Onyx getting up slowly. It looked like he was just barely out of the blast radius. But I couldn't see Kepler. There was no trace of him. I kept searching around until my eyes landed on his helmet. It was thrown halfway down the street, but I could make it out clear as day. His helmet was scorched, mangled, and I could see blood coming from the cracked visor. It took everything I had in me not to turn around and single-handedly fight anyone that got in my way. But I could hear Onyx yelling for me to get up and move. We had to move, otherwise we'd both die. So I got up and made for Onyx's position as he covered me.
Hey, are you good?
I'll be better when we get the hell off this street.
Then let's go. Cover me and I'll move to the tunnel entrance behind us.
Copy. Move.
I laid down suppressive fire as Onyx moved back towards the tunnel entrance that would eventually lead us directly to our safe house. Once I knew he was set and covering me, I started to bound back to him. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my left shoulder as I heard a loud crack behind me in the distance. Sniper. I kept moving as fast as I could while trying to ignore the feeling of my shoulder being on fire. I finally made my way to the tunnel entrance and felt like all of this would soon be over. And then I heard another crack behind us as we made our way inside. This time, Onyx was hit.
Ah, fuck, my leg!
Can you walk?
Yeah, but barely. Fucking bastard sniper! Who the hell are these guys anyway?
I don't know, but we'll figure it out later. Come on, let's go.
I took Onyx's arm and had him lean on me while we moved. He was slow, but I was confident that we'd make it to our safe house in one piece. I couldn't stop thinking about why we were set up. Why burn a Tier 1 asset? Just so you could keep us from influencing political opinions in Kaleidoscope? To me, that didn't make sense. But then again, I wasn't a politician.
You doing all right?
Yeah, I'll be fine.
He was lying. I could feel Onyx leaning on me more and more as we moved through the tunnel. I glanced behind us and saw he'd lost a lot of blood. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to treat his leg until we were out of range of whoever was shooting at us. We passed another tunnel that forked right, and I only saw them for a split second. A squad of 4 was sent into the tunnel to finish what their main force couldn't. They immediately began firing, and I watched as Onyx's helmet practically shattered right in front of me. He was dead. He was dead. I realized what had just happened, and I dropped his lifeless body from my shoulder and took off running. I ran faster than I ever have, trying to ignore the pain that was shooting through my body and mind. As I did, I tossed my rifle just to gain even a little bit more speed. I could hear them following behind me, and I ducked into a dark alcove. The sound of their footsteps got closer until I saw them run right past me. I was even able to see clearly what weapons they carried. N617 SMGs, ICEP security standard issue. As they ran past me, I drew my sidearm and I fired 4 shots. All 4 found their mark. I kept moving until I found a door with a security system next to it.
Welcome. Please enter your authorization code.
Security override. Ghost 16, code 5698.
Acknowledged. Ghost security protocols now in effect.
I'd finally gotten to our safe house, and the silence was already killing me. I started to hold back tears as the gravity of the situation hit me like a space shuttle. My whole team was gone in the span of an hour. My family, all of whom were practically my siblings, were dead. And I didn't even know why. I wiped away the tears that got past me, and I grabbed a medkit from the drawer. Before I started to treat my wound, I began to think of who I could trust. Very few people knew that our unit existed, and even less knew of our operation that night. Getting in touch with our anonymous contact was out of the question. I was convinced that he was the one that burned us. Only 2 people that knew of our operation came to mind: John Morrison and Thomas Knight, both career politicians that were family friends. They knew what we were, and they were a part of the governing body that oversees ghost operations called the Conglomerate.
Call J. Morrison and T. Knight.
Dialing.
Kara, been trying to raise you on comms for the past hour. What's going on? What's the status of Torch?
We ran into problems. And Torch is gone, Morrison.
Damn. I'm sorry, he was a good man. How is your team holding up? I don't see them there with you.
They were killed. The whole team is down. It's just me.
The whole team? Kara, just what the hell happened out there?
Our anonymous contact, Raven, burned us. We walked right into an ambush.
How do you know it was him?
He's the one that gave us the intel on Torch's location. When we got there, all we found was his transponder. For some reason, it was still online even though it had been removed. It's the most logical answer.
I started to take off my gear while I was on the call. I'd been planning to treat my shoulder when it was done, but it couldn't wait anymore. It started to hurt more and more by the second. I saw Morrison and Knight avert their eyes from their screens as I took the straps of my tank top off of my shoulders. Maybe I should have been a little more modest at the time.
I want to find out who did this. I don't care how long it takes.
I agree. But if the mole is an ICEP, that's going to be very difficult to do without support. It'll be impossible to launch a formal investigation.
Then let's not conduct a formal investigation.
What are you getting at?
Whoever this contact of yours was, it's obvious that he's not operating within legal confines. And God knows who else is working with him. We need someone that can operate outside of these confines too. No other way I see us taking them down.
I'll do it.
Kara, think about this for a second before you jump the gun. If you take this assignment, you'll have to go dark on all fronts. That means no communication with your little brother or any of the others.
I'd almost forgot about the kids. Just like me, everyone else on the team had siblings. They'd grow up together just like we did. One day, they'd be told what we are, and it would be on them to become ghosts as well. Only Redback and Ark were left from the previous generation. Surely they'd be taking care of them, and they would come to understand why I had to leave. The thought of leaving them behind hurt, but the thought of all of us dead because I decided to stay hurt more. I understand, but if I don't do this, eventually we'll all be dead anyway. I'll do it.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
All right then. I'll let your family know.
Any ideas to where you start?
Yeah, a few. But one person in particular comes to mind. Just don't know where I stand with him.
Who is it?
Imka.
Shit. Last time you saw him, didn't go well. If you decide to go to him, be careful.
I will.
How are you on funds?
I only have 10,000 stacks here in this safe house. Going to the other ones is going to be too risky.
Agreed. I'll arrange to have more sent to you by the morning. I'll have private shuttle routed to Site 9 for you. Kara, good luck and stay safe. Contact us if you ever get a chance to.
I will. And thank you. Both of you.
Call ended.
With that, the call ended, and the screen went blank. The silence once again became deafening. I found a news channel just so I could drown it out. I started to pack a bag. I didn't need much, just clothes, my tomahawk, and my pistol. I grabbed some ammo from a cupboard and took a ration pack from the stash. I took one last look at the safe house and began to think of my family. How I'd never see them again, all because of something that probably wasn't worth killing over in the first place. With that in mind, I became even more determined to find out who did this to my team. I stepped outside of the safe house, back into the tunnel we'd been fighting in, and started walking in the opposite direction that I came from. I found another door and opened it. Stepping out into that warm Rialza morning was a stark contrast to the cold and dark night that I had just been through. It was time for me to look for whoever was responsible for killing almost everyone I loved, and make sure they could never do it again, no matter what it ended up costing me.